The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. We're doing a Skype interview today with Colleen Coble, who is an author of many books. So we will be coming back in a couple of moments and we will be talking with Colleen. Catch you later, dears. Hello, this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page and we welcome Colleen Coble. How are you, dear?
I'm great, Patty. Good to be here with you.
I'm glad that you're on my show. I've always been an admirer of your books. And I saw you on 21 Alive a little while ago, and I said, gee, what a character. I do hope I can be able to have her on my show. And I do.
That's great.
So, Colleen, where were you born and raised? Were you born in Indiana or?
Yeah, Wabash, right here, right where I still live. So, born and raised. For a short time, my dad, his career was he worked at Fisher Body as a guard, and we lived there for just a very short time and then came back to Wabash County. So most of my growing up years I spent out in the county, and I went to Southwood High School. So I lived in the South County area of Wabash County.
Is it a nice town? I understand it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About 12,000 people, small, but very friendly. And, you know, I love my little hometown. It was a great place to raise our kids. And
you have kids? Oh, you're married then.
Yes, I'm married. We have 2 children. Our son Dave lives up near Fort Wayne, and he and his wife have a darling granddaughter of ours who's 8. Her name's Alexa. And then our daughter Kara lives out in Goodyear, which is on the west side of the Phoenix metro area. And she and her husband just had our new little grandson, Elijah, who's 2 months, and we just got back from visiting him. I happened to leave him.
Congratulations on your new grandchild.
Yes, he's darling. He's absolutely darling.
How many pounds is he? How many pounds?
He weighed about 7.5 pounds, but he's already over 13.
Oh,
he's
wow.
really great gaining. He's going to be tall like his uncle.
Hey, who influenced you as you were growing up to become an author? You're an author. You have written a lot of books. So who had influenced you to even start to think about writing?
Well, you know, I wrote my first story when I was in first grade, and it was about a horse who had twin colts. So I still remember that first story, and the teacher praised it, and I thought, wow, maybe I could be write books, and I could have a book in the library. That was my only goal at the time, was just to have a book in a library somewhere. I thought that would be super cool. And I was good in school, and all through school, you know, I had that little dream, that little nugget of a dream that maybe I would be a writer. And then got married at 19, had our first baby at 21, as we women tend to do. You know, I kind of threw everything into raising them and kind of put my own dreams on hold. And but it never went away. That little seed, you know, that little nugget was always there, just under the surface, and I would take it out once in a while and kind of blow off the dust and think, oh, wow, you know, maybe someday. And then when I was 38, my younger brother, the oldest of my 3 younger brothers, Randy, was killed in a freak lightning accident. He was 37, and it was a wake-up call for me that if I was ever going to follow my dream, you know, when. And so I really dug that nugget of that little seed up and started trying to do that, to trying to write. And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know another writer. I didn't even tell anybody except my husband that I was trying to do it, because it seemed presumptuous that here this little farm girl who grew up in the cornfields of Indiana had this dream of writing a book. You know, how pretentious did that seem?
Well, I think that's a wonderful thing that you did, because you're very creative.
Yeah, thank you. I really love doing it. It's awesome. You know, I get to do what I really love like that. And so I wrote that first book. It took a year to write it. It took 4 years to sell it.
What's the name of the book?
When that call came from Barbara that they were going to buy my first book, I screamed so loudly that our cat hid under the bed. True story. Totally true story. I called my pastor and I was sobbing, and his answering machine picked up. And when he got back and listened to it, he thought someone had died and he didn't know who to call back. Totally true story.
So what was the name of your first book?
It was called Where Leads the Heart, and it was kind of my grieving book for my brother, that the life he might have lived if he'd lived in the 1860s.
1860. That's an old, long ago, before my time.
Oh, that's right.
How many books have you written since?
56 now.
56?
Yeah. About 9 of those, well, actually no more than that. I've written some novellas for Thomas Nelson too. So I guess probably about 11 or 12 of those are novellas, and
What's
then
that?
the rest are all novels.
What's a novella?
A novella is a book of about 25,000 words. So you know, and it still has it's longer than a short story, but shorter than a novel.
Oh, I learned something from my guest. I did indeed. So, you've sold, how many books have you sold over the years?
Over 3 million. So it's
3
been
million?
way beyond over what I ever dreamed it would be. Like I said, all I wanted was to have a book in the library at the beginning, but the Lord has opened some amazing doors, and you know, I'm just very grateful for what has happened in my career.
So, what genre basically are your books?
They're romantic mysteries. Yeah, there's always some romance in them, but I love a good murder mystery. So,
You do. A lot of people are drawn to that for some reason.
Yeah, well, I grew up on mysteries. You know, I loved Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. So
Same
you know,
here.
even as a child, I was reading now. They weren't murder mysteries, granted, they were just mysteries. But then I morphed from them into really harder mysteries, and just the mystery suspense genre is what I've always loved to read. So it's what I wanted to write. My first few books were more straight romance, and many of them are what we call prairie romance, which is
I like those.
Historical.
I like those.
So I started there, but my dream was always to kill people.
What?
I jokingly say I kill people for a living, but it's never right. I mean, I don't have blood and gore, but I do have a murder usually that my protagonist gets caught up in, and the danger is coming after her.
So when you start out writing a story, where do you get these ideas? I mean, where?
You know, they come from all different places, Patty. Sometimes it's a documentary that I've watched on TV, or it's an article in it. My first actual murder mystery was Without a Trace, and it's the first book in the Rock Harbor series that is still very popular today. It's set up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and there's a search and rescue dog team there, and Bree and Samson, her search dog Samson. And it's been super popular with readers. But the idea for that one came, I was sitting in a doctor's office waiting for my appointment, and there was nothing there to read but hunting magazines, which, that would be my first choice, of course. But I was desperate, so I took that magazine, was flipping through it, I ran across an article about search and rescue in Yellowstone. And it had nothing about the dogs, but it had that whole search and rescue element, and I was really intrigued. So I started doing some research, and then ran across that dog angle, and then that whole series was born. So it comes from all areas. My Aloha Reef series set in Hawaii. I got the idea for that. I was watching a documentary that during the first Gulf War, they were using dolphins to scour the floors, looking for bombs. And I was a Flipper fan from the 60s, and had a crush on Luke, and I thought, oh, Flipper.
Hey, I grew up in the 60s too.
That's where it went from there.
Oh my goodness. You talk about that you have done series. How many series of books have you done?
Well,
Are they
let's
in a
see.
lot? Are they all of them or no?
Many of my books are series. I have the Rock Harbor series, the Aloha Reef series, Lone Star. There's a historical series set in the Lighthouse series, Mercy Falls series is what it's called. And then there's another historical series in Texas, my Hope Beach series, the Sunset Cove series. Am I forgetting any? I think that might be it. So like 7 series and multiple books in each of those series.
Do you go visit these places to?
I sure do, because you find out stuff that you didn't know if you don't go. When I was writing the Hawaii series, we went to Kauai for that. That's where the first book was set, and who knew there were wild chickens running everywhere, crowing in the middle of the night.
Oh wow!
There's details like that you just don't know if you don't.
If you
actually
don't
go
there,
spot.
you don't soak in the culture and everything, the atmosphere.
Right.
Oh wow! How long for a series?
Well, my books usually come out every 6 months, and so for a series that has 3 books in it, it spans about a year and a half. But then sometimes those series are super popular, and I write more books in that series. Like Rock Harbor, there are 6 books now. There were only supposed to be 3, but it's been super popular, and there's a new one in that series coming out in July. So readers have really loved that series, and they just haven't been willing to let it go. My Lone Star series was just going to be 1 book, and it ended up there's 4 in that series now.
Wow.
So
Very creative you are.
thank you. I love getting to do it.
Did you go to university or high school to learn
The high school and 1 year of college, and that was it. But I was always really good in with English and grammar, and I have very good vocabulary, and I've always been an avid reader, always, for years. I read multiple books a week, and I still do to this day.
You're a genius.
I wouldn't say that, but I do love to read.
I have another question for you, my dear. The other books that you have released recently within the last year, what are they?
My newest series is called the Sunset Cove series, and that has 3 books. It's The End at Ocean's Edge, Mermaid Moon, and the recently released book, Twilight at Blueberry Barrens.
Yes, just talk about Twilight.
Yeah.
What's it about? Without revealing too much of the plot, what's all that about?
Well, there's a young woman, and readers should read the entire series, because her story kind of begins in at Ocean's Edge, and then it finishes in Twilight at Blueberry Barrens. But she had a blood disease that she was dying from, and in the course of the treatment to cure that disease, she had to have very strong chemo, and it rendered her sterile. Her ovaries just weren't going to work anymore. So she knows she can never have children. But she absolutely loves children, and so that's really something that she's having to grapple with, that whole infertility thing. But she and her sister observe someone being thrown from a cliff.
Wow.
And they rush to try to get there in time to help, but the person is dead. And then they realize that it was a double murder. And so they...
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's my...
computer?
Yeah, there's some sort of noise going on. I don't know.
That's all right. It's okay. We can go
Let me see if I can turn it off here. Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So it takes you about a year and a half, really, to write a series of 2 or 3 books or 4 books?
Usually 3 books, although, if the series is very popular, then there end up being more. So, but I'm just getting ready to get started on a new series set in the state of Washington, up in the Puget Sound area. So that should be quite fun. And I'm always coming up with something new. It's always, something new hopping around.
I'm always curious about people, wanting to know more about them. And that's why they're on my show. I'm glad you're on my show.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Are you a Christian writer as well?
I am. My books are not preachy at all. They
That's
are, it's story first, but my characters are usually Christians who are going through some sort of a challenge themselves, and so they are dealing with something. They're coming to grips with something. They're not perfect by any means, and the faith thread is not overpowering, but it is there because that I'm a Christian, and so most of we writers write from our own worldview and what we know.
Mm-hmm.
So I know as a Christian I'm often struggling with something myself, and that often shows up. Whatever I'm struggling with often shows up in my
in your books
story.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
You're a very strong lady. Do you have strong people in your
I do.
stories?
All of my characters are strong women who have overcome something really bad in their past or are struggling to overcome it, and they're just putting one foot in front of the other and going forward and not letting the circumstances keep them down.
When you
And Kate is no exception there in Twilight of Blueberry Barrens. As I said, she was dealing with infertility, and so she's coming to grips with all of that, and she becomes the target of a stalker and is trying to keep, she's babysitting for a new renter across the road, and she's trying to keep his two little nieces safe from whoever killed their parents. So it's
Wow, you have
there's
an
danger coming
imagination.
from both different directions, from a couple different directions.
You have an imagination, girlfriend.
And I don't know where it comes from, but
Just out of the blue.
And I'm not one of those who plot out a story either.
No.
I start with an interesting premise, and then I just see where it goes. I set up the initial suspense line and murder, and then I usually don't even know who my villain is. I just kind of
Expand
lay
from
a
there.
couple of different rabbit trails and see what happens.
So, it's like writing a script, really, for a play or something like that. You write it, what they say and where they are and all that. That's fun. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's very fun. I really love it.
I have, I'm a lyricist myself, a Christian one,
Oh,
and I got several songs out. I started out like a story in the beginning, introducing the character, and then the story, and then the ending. And
that's awesome.
that's-
Yeah, I'm not that talented. I just write stories.
well, you are
I
very.
can't have music to go with it, so.
There's no way I know how to read a book. I mean, to write a book. I mean, I know how to read. Anyways, I don't know how to write a book. I mean, you are more adept to with your beautiful English and your grammar and all that. It's good that you are doing this to share with others,
I love doing it, and it's, I'm just blessed to be able to do every day what I love to do, so it's pretty awesome.
Are they in paperback or ebooks or
They're
both?
both in book form and in ebook form. So a lot of people like to read on their Kindle these days, so we have that available for them as well.
I was just wondering, the contact info that we can get from you, how can people go to find your information about, you have a website?
Yeah, I have a website. It's ColleenCoble.com, ColleenCoble.com, and there are links to different online booksellers there. You can go to just about any bookstore, Barnes & Noble, a lot of independent bookstores, Amazon, everywhere. Christian bookstores.
Did you know that my younger sister is named Colleen, just spelled the same way, eh?
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
It's
I was
Irish.
my mom's best friend, so I haven't met a whole lot. I mean, yeah, I do run into some other Colleens, but it's not commonly.
Well, it's an Irish name, It means
Yeah,
girl in
Yeah.
Gaelic. So you're a girl. That's good.
I'm a girl.
Oh wow! Let's talk about the other books. Have you done Christmas books?
Yes, I have a couple of Christmas books that are novella collections. So the first one is Silent Night, Holy Night, and then the second one is All Is Calm, All Is Bright. So it's kind of a follow up of the Christmas song. But the first book has a novella from Rock Harbor, and then a novella from, I think it was the Lone Star series. I'm trying to remember because it's been several years that I wrote that one. And then last Christmas, one came out that had a novella in it from the Hope Beach series, and then another one of my series. And again, I'm spacing which series that was, but I'm always writing something new, so I get confused over what's what. But they have sold well, and people like to buy Christmas stories, so they have great covers. And
I preferred like the actual paperback itself, because I don't trust.
A lot of people still like to read the actual book.
I don't like trusting computers for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm old school. I was born in 1952, so.
Hey, I was too. I was born in 52.
Why? High five.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, you got it.
Wow, you're my age. That's very good. That's why I get along so well with you.
I'll be 65 in January, so.
Oh, I'll be 65 in May. Oh. I'm a May girl. January? That's a couple of months.
Right.
Well, if I don't hear from you before that, happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
So what are you going to do on your birthday then? You're going to do something special?
Well, we'll be in Arizona. We usually go there for the winter and stay with our daughter. So we'll be there in warm weather. So I'll probably do something fun. I don't know what it is yet, but we'll probably do something.
So what can you say to my audience that would it help to encourage them to be a writer and expand and all that?
Well, I am also CEO of American Christian Fiction Writers, so I love encouraging new writers, and my best piece of advice would be to read widely in the genre you want to write, and then read some good books on writing. I highly recommend one by James Scott Bell called Plot and Structure. Excellent. Excellent. And then there's another one by Donald Moss called Writing the Breakout Novel that is also excellent. And then James Scott Bell also has one called Write Your Novel from the Middle. That is really great.
Write your novel from the middle, being have the basic hook.
Yeah, and so what he says is that in the middle of a really good novel, the character comes to some realization about themselves that they did not know. And that just really, I read that a few novels ago. I think I had read it just before I wrote The Inn at Ocean's Edge, and it totally transformed the way I wrote that book, and it made it so easy to write it. So, I knew what was happening in the middle, so it was easy to write to that, and then I knew what had to happen to the end. So from that point on, it was easy to, write that as well.
So who has been your mentor in starting with writing many moons ago?
Well, I wasn't fortunate enough to really have a mentor, other than just I read, all the novels that I'd read all those years were just kind of a way to teach me how to put a novel together. And when I first started writing, I didn't even know another writer. I thought this dream that I had was kind of kooky, and I was really different that I was doing this. So I'm very now connected with community. It's really important to me, the writer community, just because of the way that I started without any real encouragement. It was just stumbling along in the dark by myself. So that's why I have such a passion for helping new writers getting started, and encouraging them to not give up. And your first book is probably going to be lousy, and probably the first 3 chapters you're going to have to throw out, because a common problem with first manuscripts is the author wants to put in too much backstory and start right in the middle of the action. And the backstory you can drop in little bits by little bits. The reader doesn't need to know all that stuff about the what happened up to this point. So that's a common mistake that I am always correcting.
Well, whenever I start my lyrics, it's about 10,000 words. Then I have to break it out, trim it down until it finally comes out and makes sense. And that's how I do it. I usually start writing about 11 o'clock at night and don't go to bed till about 2. There's
certain creative period I have found. For some of us, it's first thing in the morning. For some of us, it's late at night or middle of the afternoon. You know, there's a spot where we're really in our sweet spot where we can really pound that story out.
Well, it's quiet, you know.
Yeah.
So, you write every day?
Yes, except for the weekend. I usually take the weekend off because I have our granddaughter at home. But you know, sometimes when I'm on a tight deadline crunch, I will write on the weekend because I have to get that book out.
So you do have a time limit as to when you have.
Yeah, oh yes. There's always a deadline. You know, my deadlines are every 6 months, and I like to make them. I don't like to.
That's something to look.
Publisher, you know, stumble in any way. So.
It's a goal. Something you're on a mission. So therefore.
Yeah, right. On a mission. Exactly.
Well, listen, my little lady, it's half an hour is almost overdraft. So I would like to have you back on my show if you want to.
Oh, sure. I could do that sometime.
Oh, you're an angel. Thank you, Colleen Coble.
Thanks so much for having me, Patty. You have a good day.
You too. God bless.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with us all.